All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Julie Creighton, and I'm from the Milton Academy of Martial Arts. I have today with me Carrie Percival from BRAVE, which stands for Bully Resistance Anti-Violence Education, and our demo team, the Milton Tsunami. So Carrie and I will be giving you a short presentation on anti-bullying from a martial arts perspective, and then we'll have our martial arts demo, which you're not going to want to miss, so stay around for it. So a little bit about myself. I've been teaching and training in the martial arts for 15 years, and we teach self-defense, awareness, and emphasize that karate is the development of not only physical skills in self-defense, but also mental skills and what I call mental self-defense. It is learning how to find a balance, especially during times of hardship and conflict. So more than anything else, karate is not violent. Today, my hope is to share with you information that you can take away and perhaps draw on if needed in the future. I really wanted to plant a seed of hope that there are solutions that exist to bullying, depression, and suicide. As I mentioned earlier, self-defense can apply to mental issues and verbal attacks and physical attacks. 80% of bullying is verbal, not physical, so we can learn to develop mental strength and become skilled in mental self-defense. I believe that strong mental and emotional health will help guard or stop hurtful words from taking seed and rooting in our minds, because negative words can sit heavy and affect our emotional health so much that we can become vulnerable to illnesses such as depression. So knowledge, awareness, and practice are key ingredients required to protect yourself. So I'll be sharing with you a formula that I've adapted from my training, and it can be used to prepare and guard against negative mental effects. Things like negative thinking, verbal bullying, or verbal abuse, this can be used. So I grew up being bullied my entire life. I even tried being a bully to cope with it, but got nowhere because that didn't stop the bullying from happening. I discovered very quickly that it didn't make me feel better. I was called names, I was the new kid at a new school, and many nights I'd go home and I'd be swarmed and beaten up. So I spent a lot of times being scared, unhappy, and suffering depression in my youth. So I struggled and struggled all my life until one day, after my mother passed away, the depression became so severe that I was bedridden for at least a year. And it's not that I didn't want to get out of bed, it's that I couldn't get out of bed. And it's not that it's something you can control. Doctors said that the clinical depression was like a computer with a total system shutdown. The mental pain of this shutdown was excruciating. Worse than any physical pain that I have ever experienced in my life. So life at that time was awful. I felt no joy, no passion, and really what was the scariest thing was that I didn't continue my karate training. And karate is my ultimate passion. So for me, my life was gone, and there was a point where I even considered suicide because that would end the pain. That's how bad it was. Now, I could go on, really, but my story isn't meant to draw sympathy. Many people suffer as I have suffered. I'm not the only one, and I'm not unique, and I know that. But what I do want to share is the formula that I used on how I focused on developing my mental strength and self-defense to recover. I believe that if people can be aware of this before something like depression happens, they can better guard against it. It worked for me, and my hope is that it can work for someone else. So words can pack a punch. As I said, 80% of bullying is verbal. But a lot of people study self-defense because of the physical fear of being attacked, when really 80% of any attacks out there are verbal. So it makes sense that we want to mentally prepare for that. So what does it take to defend ourselves from an attack, either physical or mental? Is power. Word empowerment comes from power. So in karate, we teach a formula on how to generate power to either block or deflect a punch, and how to generate power to counter strike, which is really important. And what that means is that sometimes we must strike hard to stop an attack from continuing, and that's in physical self-defense. Because the longer that someone attacks you physically without stopping, the more likely you are to be hurt badly, to be abducted, or possibly even killed. So you need this formula to generate power, especially if the attacker is bigger and stronger. And I guarantee you, an attacker who wants to physically harm you will be bigger and stronger, because they don't attack bigger people than themselves. So the power equation for developing physical power goes like this. It's rooted in the feet, developed by the legs, directed by the hips, and expressed by the limbs, either hands or feet, punching or kicking. So I'm going to bring my assistants, Michelle and Terry, and they're going to just give you a visual of what I mean by that. So Michelle is going to put on what we call a sumo stance, and she's just like the sumo wrestlers. She's low to the ground, and she's rooted. And when we think of rooting, it's like a tree. What do roots do in a tree? They hold them, not only do they nourish them, but it also holds it strong to the ground. So when gusts of wind that are strong force, the tree will sway, but it's not going to get uprooted and collapse. So Terry's going to demonstrate how he's going to physically attack her, just simply pushes her back and forth, forward and back, and she moves with it. Good, very nice, thank you. Good, so she's moving with that, not getting thrown to the ground, and really that's the defense here, because he's a male attacker, she's female, she gets thrown to the ground. That isn't a place that a female needs to be, or anybody. It's life-threatening. So now, we're going to see the counter-strike, how this power equation can, you need to strike an attacker who's going to harm you so they don't follow you. Not because we're violent, but because we need it to stop. So she's rooted in her sumo stance. The feet don't come off the ground, because if she brings her heels off the ground, she's going to lose power. There's no balance. So she's going to get ready. She's going to grind her heel into the ground, and you'll notice that her hip is going to switch over when we do this. And the power is going to go up from the foot. It's developed by the leg, directed by the hip, and the arm is going to express it right through the board and break it. So on 1, 2, 3. Very nice. Thank you. Let's give her a round of applause. Good job, guys. So it's that formula that I adapted. I needed to give you guys a visual of a power formula, because I've adapted it to develop mental strength, which isn't as easy to do. It's not as easy for me to describe that. So for me, it brought me out of the depths of depression when I started practicing it. Now, it didn't happen overnight. It took a long time for me to figure this out, but it worked, because I'm here today to tell you about it. I still use it because I want to maintain my mental strength, and let's face it, I still have to deal with aggressive people, bullies at my age, adult bullying occurs, and I find that I go back to it, I remind myself, and really the key is practicing it, like anything. So the adapted formula is powers rooted in the heart, developed by the mind, directed by intention, and expressed by words, thoughts, or actions. So remember that tree, right? The roots, it holds it down. It's the same as inside of us. Our heart is where I believe we need to develop roots. Of course, figuratively. And by heart, I mean our emotions. It's where we create feelings of happiness and contentment. If our emotions are not nourished, we become weak, and this will affect our mental health. So to keep our hearts rooted strongly, I believe that we must do work. We really have to work at it. We must come up with a list of words or phrases, and it may not be new for some of you, but it's a good reminder, that describe ourselves. And the words have to be positive. Because someone once told me they described Canadians as being self-deprecating, and we really are. We'll gravitate to the negative to describe ourselves long before we're going to gravitate to positive words. So it's a practice. We have to work at it. So to keep our hearts rooted strongly, as I said, it's work. And those words and phrases that we develop are developed in our minds. They have to be nice and positive, like things like I'm courageous, I'm loyal, I'm friendly, I'm kind, anything like that. You write out your 10 phrases. And we need to keep in mind these phrases frequently, but especially when someone attacks us verbally, calling us names that we know we're not. You are the person that you will love the most in this life, and I really believe that. If you don't love yourself the most, then no one else will, and no one else will respect you. So it's here that we can start to become unaffected by the opinions of others. If you let other people write your list by accepting their hurtful opinions, then you let them define you, and that's just wrong in my opinion. If you write your own list, then you are in control of who you are, you define yourself. These words or phrases develop core characteristics, and from there you develop your character. And the beautiful thing is that you can change and add to that list at any time in your life. So remember, use the descriptive words that are positive. Because really, honestly, we can't rely on everyone liking us all the time and having positive opinions of us. And that's why we should really be in charge of coming up with that list ourselves. So once you get here, you're rooted in your self-worth, and that's what it's all about. Intention, from here the self-worth is directed by intention. And intention is defined as aim, or as I like to describe, a focal point. And once we've developed it, we can aim it in a forward direction. Being harmed by hurtful words can damage us, and if we're not properly prepared, we become wounded and vulnerable. So think of it, a wounded animal hides out in the light of day unseen. It retreats waiting to heal, and healed or not, it'll never come out until it feels safe. And that's what can happen to us. With repeated verbal bullying, verbal attacks, verbal abuse, we retreat, we hide, we get stuck. And when depression hit me, that's exactly what I was. I was stuck. So once we root ourselves and develop our self-worth, we can move forward and live life. Choose goals and achieve those goals. Because everybody deserves that. If we're not aware that we have to defend our mental health this way and work at it, practice it, we can get stuck feeling vulnerable, and then we focus on staying hidden. And that's just not good. Nobody deserves to be hidden. So the final part of this equation is expressed by thought, words, or actions. And really that's the result of the power equation. When our thoughts and words are positive, we don't feel worthless. And when we decide who we are, then we become that person. And we have the power to deflect hurtful words and actions of others. Self-defense. We can start to understand how not to accept the opinions of others and how not to take things personally. There's a great book called The 4 Agreements, and it really is good. It teaches more concepts and how not to take things personally. I don't believe that we can control or change how others are going to treat us 100%. I really don't. But I do believe that we can change how we respond, and that becomes our defense against that kind of treatment. So this equation was developed from my martial arts experience and training, and it certainly helped me climb out of the pits of depression, and it keeps me from falling back there. I don't believe that you have to be a martial artist or a karate person to benefit from it either. I think it is for anyone who's attracted and anyone that wants to give it a try. So I would like to leave off with a quote from Bruce Lee, because every martial artist loves Bruce Lee. And Bruce Lee said, "In order to realize our true self, we must be willing to live without being dependent upon the opinions of others." I hope that my formula will give people a way to do that. Thank you very much. So I'd like to introduce Carrie Percival.
My name is Carrie Percival, and I'm actually from the Academy of Martial Arts as well. I'm one of the instructors in Brampton. But I teach a program called BRAVE, and BRAVE stands for Bully Resistance Anti-Violence Education, just like Julie Creighton was saying. And it was developed about 10, 12 years ago. We started teaching it to local schools in the Brampton area, and we've grown to throughout Southern Ontario and even into the States. We've been teaching in the States as well. And this program that we teach was developed by the Brampton Academy for a single reason, was that we had parents coming and talking to us about, our kids aren't being physically bullied, so the karate's not really helping. They're being emotionally bullied. They're being verbal bullied. So how do we deal with that? And like Julie was saying, 80% of bullying is verbal. And the reason it starts verbal is because this person wants to see how you're going to respond, how you're going to react, and then it grows from there. So over the course of the 10, 12 years that we've been teaching, we've incorporated some different stuff from cyberbullying into, for young guys, stranger safety, as well as our new one is the bystander. And that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about, is the role of the bystander. Does anybody here know what a bystander is? Can you tell me what a bystander is? Yeah. Okay, it's somebody who stands by and watches bullying, a witness. They witness this happening. Okay, as a bystander, well, raise a hand. Who's ever seen something happen before? At home, yeah, you've seen stuff at school, it can be on the street, whatever, right? You've seen something happen. As a bystander, we have 3 choices. That's it. Only 3. Our first choice that we can make is that we can help the bully. So we can help the bully out. So we can say something, encourage them to make fun of this person even more. We can, say something back to this person. So we encourage this person to make fun of them. So we can help the bully. The second thing that our choice is we can help the target, help the person that's being bullied, okay? The third choice that we have is we can do nothing. What do you think most people choose to do? And this includes adults. What do you think most people choose to do?
Nothing.
Nothing, okay? Most people choose to do nothing. And the reason, okay, people choose to do nothing, there's a few reasons why people choose to do nothing. The first reason is because there's a fear of retaliation. There's a fear that if I say something, this person's going to come after me. There's a fear of rejection, that if I say anything, these people aren't going to accept me anymore either, okay? Another reason that people choose not to do anything is called the bystander effect. For anybody who's taken psychology, you would know what the bystander effect is. The bystander effect is when there's 100 people. So let's say there's 100 of us here, and we see something happening, and we see somebody getting made fun of, pushed around, whatever it is. We all look at each other and we go, well, you gonna do something? Well, you're not doing anything, so I guess I'm not gonna do anything. So that's the bystander effect. If there's 100 of us, only 1% of responsibility lies on me. And we have to think that 100% of that responsibility, of that bullying situation, lies on all of us. 100%. When you see something happening, you have the responsibility to do something. Now, there's different things that you can do. You don't necessarily have to go and put yourself in harm's way, especially if this is a physical bullying situation. We can go get somebody to help out. For instance, I was at, I'm no longer in high school, and this was a year ago. I was at Metro, and I saw some guy put up his hands and some other man yelling at him, and he put up his hands, and the guy was pushing him and all this stuff. And there was tons of people around, and nobody did anything. I'm not going to jump in front of 2 men fighting. That's just that's crazy. But I got my phone out and I called the police. I was the only person that did anything out of a full mall. 100% responsibility lies on us to do something. Because if we're not going to do anything, nobody else is going to do anything. It's the power of one. If somebody does it, then somebody else goes, oh, if she's not accepting it, I guess it's not right. I shouldn't accept it either. I should do something. And then you get this ripple effect of people helping out versus people deciding not to do anything. It is proven that if a bystander does get involved, a bullying situation will stop within 7 seconds. Within 7 seconds. That's huge. That's a lot. 7 seconds it feels like a lifetime for these people that are being bullied. So when you see something happening, be it, somebody saying something that's not very nice to another person, or you see somebody getting physically attacked, you must do something. Say something, go get help, whatever you have to do to make this stop. Now, in Brave, we have a saying, I will not stand by, I will stand brave. And BRAVE is an acronym for Bully Resistance Anti-Violence Education, but it's also an acronym of something, steps that I have for the kids that I work with to do. BRAVE means be aware. First, be aware. What do you have to be aware of? Well, you have to be aware of everything around you. What kind of situation is this? Is this an aggressive physical situation? Is this a verbal situation? How can I get involved? How can I stay safe myself? R, I can react and I can distract. I can get this person away by doing a distraction technique. A, ask them to join your group. You see that kid sitting by themselves at recess? You see that person sitting by themselves in the lunchroom? Because again, it doesn't have to just be kids. This can be an adult. Ask them to join your group. Don't make them sit by themselves. We know that in self-defense, being by yourself is not safe. Get people to be with you. Okay. For V, we're be aware, react, distract, ask them to join your group. Voice your support. Voice your support. If you see something happening, you have to say something. Again, it doesn't have to be necessarily to the situation. It could be saying to that person after everything's said and done, are you okay? I saw what happened. Do you need to talk? Maybe I should take you somewhere and you can talk to somebody. Voice your support. And E, be that excellent example. Show everybody what it means to be that strong bystander, to be that person that is going to stand up for people, that's not just going to stand by and let things happen. It's a sad reality that most people do nothing. Stand up, be strong. Now, to demonstrate being strong, I'm going to have Julie and her tsunami come in here, and they're going to do an awesome demonstration for you guys, so get ready. But thank you very much, and I hope that you guys will stand strong.